So, guys, welcome. Do we have any beat makers or producers in the crowd here today?
Lauren Hill, son. Yeah. Wow.
This is your guys' first time meeting, too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I keep on meeting like the greatest drum machine guys in the world on panels.
Yeah.
This is the second time this has happened to me in like 2 months.
Yeah. I remember back in the day when you first, before you had like some really viral videos out there, there were just a couple little ones out there you performing on the street and stuff like that. And I remember, you know, there's a small circle of
that's real
of people that do what we do, and especially however many years ago that was. And I remember every once in a while somebody would be like, "Do you know Jeremy Ellis? You guys should meet."
Totally.
So I meet 8-10 years later or whatever. Now here we are.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So, I mean, kind of speaking to that small circle, it seems like it is sort of an exclusive club of people who really do this and have the skills and even the idea to use samplers in this way. So I think we would all be interested in knowing sort of what was your entry point into this? What inspired you and what brought you into this realm? Because not a lot of people are doing this with samplers.
Jump in.
Okay. For me, I think the reason why it's such a exclusive club is because there's so many other ways that are already established to make music that sounds like this. You know, I'm on that video. I'm playing a guitar solo, but it's with a snare sound. All of that is one snare sound that I made sound like a guitar in the MPC. But that's not something that somebody who wants to do a guitar solo thinks about doing. Like, yeah, I want to do a guitar solo, so I'm going to sample a snare and make it sound like a guitar and get good at playing notes on a 16-pad grid. That's not something that just, that's not where I started from. Where I started from was I wanted to make music, and I wanted to play every instrument imaginable. And I lived in a small town called Wilmersdorf in Pennsylvania. And the only person I knew that could teach me music was this steel worker who was a country singer on the side. And he tried to teach me piano, but it just didn't work out. And I just fell in love with hip-hop. And my love for hip-hop was what drove me to just go in a particular direction of, man, who are all the people that inspire me, the producers that inspire me, what are they using? And then that's when I came across, well, I need to get an MPC because RZA, Premier, all these people use an MPC. So I saved up at a summer job and got one and poured every bit of passion that I had and the imagination that I built up of what I would do once I had the means to make music and be a producer.
Wait, can I ask, what was the first one you got?
I was 14 and
14.
I got a MPC 2000. And I saved up all summer. I had turned 15 that summer. And then I got that, was working at an old folks home. And instead of saving up for a car, that's what I saved up for. So that was the means to which I could funnel my creative energy into. My unskilled, unpracticed creative energy. The stuff I was making then was horrible, like really bad. And I thought it was awesome, but I was making like 3 beats a day and like, yeah, I make 3 beats a day, you know, and they were all worth nothing.
Do you have them on cassette now? Like,
you know, years later, I do have them on floppy disk, and I went to go back and listen to them, and I was laughing, and the rest of my group was there, and they were like, man, what were you thinking? And I was laughing the whole time, and they were like, yeah, we're going to go get some food. They came back like an hour later, and I was like on the couch like this, because I had given myself a headache, because they were that bad.
It's like looking at a painful like high school photo.
It had nothing to do with like that I did that. It's just the music itself gave me a headache. Not even like I did this. It was beyond me.
You just had a migraine, basically.
Yeah. So I mean, I would perform in my room. You know, I would develop a skill in my room. And years later, what I found out is like I didn't necessarily learn how to play every instrument, but I could play every instrument through this medium, you know?
Right.
And that's kind of where it started for me.
And Jeremy, what about for you? Because if I understand correctly, you also have training on the piano, correct?
Yeah, yeah. My history is actually you're the first one of the crew that I've met so far who doesn't have some sort of like family background in music, and that's like, dude, amazing, bro. Like that you came and did this. Like that's like 10 times more amazing to me right now. Seriously. Yeah, I grew up in a piano marching band family, music theater, like the whole thing. Like my father's a band director. My family has taught piano since like 1917, you know, and I grew up the youngest of 3 brothers. Both of my brothers are playing already. My brother James, oldest, is a doctorate in cello and plays in 4 symphonies. Like that's just how my family does it, you know. So I grew up playing piano like before I could see the keys, just like my little baby back there. I got him on the machines already. He's a 1-year-old, you know what I'm saying? But so like that's just how we do it in my family, right?
I'm jealous of him.
Well, that's next generation.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Super lucky, right? Super lucky. So not only just the piano background, the marching band. I grew up basically in the marching band room, hang out with the drum line. The drummers were always the coolest. They're all the freaky guys. The punk rock guys are all in the drum line. So I just hung out with those guys. Started on bass drum the 8th grade year, and then like all through high school I played the quads, right? And I was pretty badass on that, admittedly. I'm super humble, but
He's known for his humility.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's the super fortunate background for the family background. And then on top of that, I'm from the city of Detroit, which obviously has some of the greatest music of all time coming from there. Parliament Funkadelic, Motown, like ragtime in the 1890s. I mean, like the jazz even in the 30s. So I'm coming up like mid-90s, and techno is exploding everywhere. And I'm playing keyboards in like jazz funk groups, and all these techno DJs, because Detroit's really a small city, you know, if there's a club full of this many people, like 3 of them are like international techno DJs, right, or house DJs. And they would come up and say like, I have all these keyboards in my studio, come and play them, because I can't play them at all, you know? Mm-hmm. So I get into their studio and I see how they're working, and they're literally just like, you know, and so I'm like, oh, yeah, right? And then I see them playing on their drum machines. My friend Mike Clark has the MPC 2000 XL, and this is the first time I see this. And he's just like, he makes his house beat with it, right? And he's like, doom, doom, do over, doom, doom, you know? And he goes back again, he's like, let me lay the hi-hat on there. You know, I'm like, oh my God, dude. I'm like, I got this, you know? It's so easy. And so like a lot of what I've ended up developing, I mean, that was like the day. Okay, that's it. I'm doing this. This sounds really easy. I'm gonna start producing all the time. And it didn't start with live beat production. It was like producing beats, 3 beats a day that super sucked as well. Yeah. So, but the live thing really evolved later as the more you like, I'm overdubbing during my set. I would play like a little part, and then it just starts overdubbing. And then I would play like a bass part, and then that would overdub, and then I would like sing some Stevie Wonder stuff. Yeah, that's what I was doing in like 2005, 2006, right? And then I would stop and I would put this James Brown break in at the end of my set. And I would just, a bunch of horn hits, a bunch of drums, and then I would just blaze like I was playing a drum kit, you know, much like you're doing as well. And then people freaked out. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna do more of that. You put another break in the track, people are freaking out, right? So I put another track in there and they're freaking out. And so just that completely took over my set. So all I do now is straight up, there's no sequencing, it's all just like button pushing, my hands are off, the music stops. That was one of the rare examples where I actually overdubbed in a track, and that was because that was a product demo video and they wanted me to use some examples of the product. But yeah, that's my evolution, marching band, piano, Detroit.
Yeah.
That's the equation. Write that down. So let's talk a little bit about the rigs. I know that for both of you, your rigs have evolved over the years. But what's your current setup? I'm sure that a lot of students here would like to know how you're making these sounds and how you're producing this music. If you're willing to reveal the secrets of the Wu-Tang.
Yeah. I started out with the MPC 2000, and that's what I performed and produced with in my bedroom forever. Then when I graduated high school, I got a 2000 XL. And then...
Which is my first piece.
Yeah, yeah.
8 years on that.
It's a great piece. It's a beast.
Still.
It's a beast.
32
it's a
megabytes.
Tank. Yeah.
Maxed.
Yeah, it's a tank. Like, I've thrown them on the ground. I've done a lot of stuff on stage in the heat of the moment, and they take a beating. Mm-hmm. At some point, I used to perform the way I used to in my studio. Like the first couple times I went out and on stage, I would sit just like this and play just with that one MPC. Then my wife was like, you know what, you should stand up when you do this because you look crazy because you're like, it's like sitting down. And I was like, stand up. Okay. So I started to stand up, and it felt a lot better not to be like falling out of the chair and while I was moving. And eventually, when I wanted to do longer sets, I would have to find something. We'd have to do something in our set to give me time to load up a whole different set of sounds because the MPC wouldn't allow me to really have everything I would need for one set in there. So we would like, all right, this is the time when you do like that 3-minute long spoken word piece so that I can do this. And I'll have my Discman and play like ambient bird noises and stuff behind you so I can load my stuff up. Eventually that got kind of old for me, so I had to incorporate another MPC. And that allowed me to like kind of go back and forth and split my workload across 2 MPCs. At some point, I don't know when it was, but I thought, yeah, a third one will be awesome. And
airline security is going to love this.
Yeah, my back loved it for years. And I think it was like, because I already was, I did the whole playing with my face thing when I was in high school as a joke, but then I was like, I could kind of do that. And then I think at one point I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I was playing one here, and one here? And I think that's one of the ideas that made me get a third one. Plus, it just helped because as my stuff grew, I needed more space. I needed more playing space, and I needed more internal memory in these machines to do that. Since then, I've incorporated some chaos pads, some pedal effects, and for a really long time, I was really adverse to the idea of having a computer on stage with me. A, because I felt like I would break it with as much as I moved around and stuff, and B, because it just made me feel like people would, because computers can do so much, and I wanted to give credit, not necessarily to me, but to the art of what I was doing, because I didn't really see many other people doing it. And I didn't want the computer to be up there and people to look at the computer and be like, oh, okay, the computer is handling a lot of this workload. I wanted them to see me actually handling the workload and doing stuff that the MPC wasn't made to do, and taking it to another place. Because before I wanted to be a musician, I wanted to be an inventor. And that was my big inspiration. And to be up there and inventing new ways of interacting with these tools was my dream. So once I kind of got over that and said, okay, it's, I had these people that would come up to me after shows and they would be like, a lot of people would give me respect, but a lot of people, there would be a few people that would come up to me and be like, what is that you're using? Because, some people thought I was hitting play on a CD player and just banging my head, which was crazy. Because they just hadn't seen it before. But some people came up and understood that I was actually playing stuff, and they said, what is that? What is that? And I told them what it was, and like, I need to get one of those. And they would say stuff like, I need to do what you do. I need to get one of those. And I wanted to tell them, like, this doesn't do that. You know what I mean? It wasn't made for that. Yeah. That's me. Give me credit. That was like my ego. You know what I mean? I was like, me. But once I got...
friend. Hang out with me.
Yeah. Love me. But once I killed my ego over many years of searching and working, self-work, I said, you know what? It doesn't matter what I have up there. I have a spirit that wants to push boundaries, and if I get a computer, I'm going to push boundaries. Actually, Beef back there, he was one of the first ones to be like, you should, with what you do, you need to have Ableton on stage. You need to have Ableton Live on stage because what you're going to be able to do with it is, whoa. And I was like, yeah, but it does so much for you, you know. But once I got all over that, now I'm in a place where I can't wait to get my MPCs off the stage and actually be using more controllers and lighter gear and actually like use the tools that are, because that's how I started. I used the tools that were the most advanced at the time.
Right.
And now I want to do the same thing and try to push those boundaries.
So what is your current setup on stage?
It's
Both of these guys, by the way, are going to be performing at the Hall of Fame Music Festival tomorrow night, so you should all definitely check them out. So this is sort of the sneak preview.
Please come to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like, we're just talking up here today, but tomorrow...
No talking on Friday.
No talky.
I actually talk a lot through my sets.
Okay, he's going to talk a lot, but
a lot of
also
jokes and
this.
ambient bird sounds.
Yeah. On a Discman.
Yes. So your current setup?
Yeah, ambient disc sound. Disc bird.
Just birds.
No, my current setup is Ableton Live, an MPD controller, MPC Studio, an MPC 2000 XL, an Ableton PUSH, 2 Chaos pads, 2 pedals, and a talk box.
An ambient bird sound.
Yeah. Like I said, I wanted to minimize my setup, but every time I incorporate a new piece of gear, I feel like it's going to replace an old piece of gear, but it just adds on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, now I have even more.
And Jeremy, what about you? What's your setup looking like?
I'm jealous of your setup, by the way.
My setup is pretty much in that laptop bag right there, which is super fun and convenient because I did so much of like this. I didn't travel with 2 MPCs, but I did the 1 MPC, hardware, keyboard, and all that kind of stuff. So my current setup is straight up laptop, Maschine controller, Maschine microcontroller, 2 stands, so they're angled at the audience, and that's it.
And that's all you need.
That's pretty much it. I'm slowly incorporating, sometimes I bring a 3rd drum machine, and that's quite simply just for the super show-off moments. I almost always am just playing all the drums on the left one. So with one hand's playing the drums, on the other hand we'll be playing like rows and rows of samples. You'll see that happen. And then like if I put them on the same bank, you'll see me do like the scratch DJ thing where I play a break here, break here, break here, break here. But that's just like that's just showing off. I could do the same thing on one, you know what I mean? But it's impressive. People clap, so that's nice.
It gets the adrenaline pumping.
Swag, as the kids say.
Yeah.
It's the swag. Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting, too, because it seems like with your more of a background as a musician, that setup almost seems more designed in that way. And yours is like a hip-hop producer of sort of like sampling and taking things. You have this very augmented like collage of tools, and yours is very like, this does this,
Yeah.
and it's...
Well, I'll tell you like the day that I switched from the MPC set. So I got sponsored by Propeller Heads Reason. They saw me playing at a show and they're like, get on Reason, right? So I started checking out Reason and I started loading all my MPC samples into Reason. And I happened to have the James Brown set that I mentioned in Reason instead because that was the most sample intensive part of the set. It was like 20 megabytes of sample. Right? For like 3 songs. And that was too much to put in the MPC. That took up the whole 32 megabytes of space. But I have 12 megs for the rest of the 90 minutes. I only had 1 MPC and I didn't reload. So it's all the drums were in there and all the sounds were in the keyboard. So either way, the power gets kicked out, right? Some jackass walks by and kicks out the power. And you're dealing with an MPC and a zip drive, which is like one of the worst unstable technologies known to man, a zip drive.
Jazz drive is worse.
God.
Jazz drive is worse.
Thank God I never got the jazz drive. Yeah. I'm sorry. So here we go. So I'm loading it. 2.5 minutes. Click, 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 click. Oh, the click of death. No. Take the do over. The click of death. It's like the blue screen of death on your computer. You never want to hear this click. The click's happening. Okay, reload. It loads back up. Sweet. 2 minutes later, I've been telling jokes and ambient bird sounds, right? And then I get back into it. Someone kicks the power out.
This is during a performance.
During a performance in Colorado, like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I guess I got to knock out this James Brown set. So I had the MPDs hooked up to, and the MPC as a MIDI controller, sending MIDI to my laptop, and I rocked out for like 15, 20 minutes, way longer than I should have on these 3 tracks, right? And basically saved my performance. And now I'm like, that's it. I can't rely on this technology anymore. Because what happened is my laptop got unplugged as well, and there's a battery in my laptop, and everything kept on going. That was great. And the USB controllers powered by the laptop, I literally could not even be plugged in at all and continue playing my set. I was like, that's it, this is the way, the way.
That guy's been at my shows a couple times, that guy that kicks the power out.
Yeah, who keeps inviting that guy?
I don't know.
He's not here, is he?
Brutal.
I remember one time power went out during our set, and they couldn't get back on, but they couldn't get the stage power on, but they still had the mics on, so I mic'd up my MPC and just started hitting it. And I was like, well, yeah. You know, and then everyone thought it was planned out, and they were like, you're a genius.
You defied the laws of electricity. So, outside of the guy who comes to shows and kicks cables loose, who we don't like, and we're trying to get him banned from all shows, what are the other things that you have to worry about when you're on stage? Because it is such a technical setup. I mean, it's when you look at other performers who will step on stage, if you have a drummer playing behind a drum kit, he knows that if the drums are mic'd up and he's hitting the drums where he needs to, the sound is going to be fine. You have a guitar player who just plugs in, and as long as his cable is working, it's coming through the amp, it's fine. It seems like with you guys, there's so much more that's going on, and I would imagine that it takes a lot of prep work to really know what you're doing. I have a million buttons, this does this. How do you even begin to prepare for doing a show with that?
I'm gonna have to brag for another quick second. I did all my mixing's done in the box, so I'm coming out of my headphone jack, right? That's how I do it. And so my main concern is this, because of latency as well. Every time I use like an audio driver or something, it adds like 3 extra milliseconds of latency. That's horrible for what we do. Like for example, on a piano, if you hit the piano key and the key hits the hammer and then the mechanism, 3 milliseconds have gone by. Anything more than that, it actually messes your brain up, right? It becomes really hard to play intricate stuff. So for me, I'm coming out of the headphone jack for that reason, right? So here's my main complication. People want to put me into a horrible DJ mixer. They're like, he's a DJ. I'm not a DJ, dude. I've never DJ'd. They're like, don't put him in the DJ mixer. Dude, you do not take like high quality audio that's not a turntable and cram it through some RCAs in the back of a crappy Pioneer mixer from 1987, dude. What are you thinking? So literally like every 4th show of mine, I have to be like, dude, no, with a DJ. And they're like, no, it'll be so easy, you know, like no problem, you know, language barriers and stuff.
No, this is good. It has Sony guts. It's really good.
Oh, yeah. No, Alan Heath inside. It's Alan Heath.
I should change your name to not a DJ, Jeremy Ellis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not a DJ, for sure. So yeah, that's like the sound quality itself. Like so that happened to me in my Japan tour recently. I did a bunch of shows. I was there for 2 weeks. 2 out of like 7 shows, I did a proper sound check in the afternoon. And if you can imagine, I'm the headphone jack sound check guy. I play like, drums good, sound check's over. I just did my whole sound check. It took me 35 seconds after my stuff's plugged in, which takes me all of 3.5 minutes, right? So then I show up later in the evening and they've swapped out that entire DJ rig, and they have this other crappy DJ mixer there for me. And then people come up and they're like, man, the quality compared to and I'm like, you know? So this still happens. This happened to me like a month ago.
It's the life of a DJ, man.
That's real.
Shouldn't it become a DJ?
He's not a DJ. Do you find, though, for both of you guys, that I imagine when you were doing this like 10 years ago, playing shows, the whole culture and the idea of what you're doing was a lot more foreign than it maybe is now. Have you found that has improved over time in terms of, you know, getting to venues and being accommodated, and even just fans and people understanding more about what it is that you guys do?
I think people are definitely more exposed to what's happening.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a tight-knit group, but there's definitely I hate to say a market for it or a demographic for it. There's a general understanding now compared to when we started to what we do. And the thing that concerns me, though, is it does often get kind of looped into the world of technology. Like, the art of what we're doing often gets kind of swallowed up or intertwined so heavily with the technology that's a part of it that some of the more artistic triumphs that people are making in this art kind of get brushed over just as fast as technology does. You know, it's a culture that's kind of intertwined and born of the technology age that we're in, so it also is subject to the same type of fast pace. And there's a lot that I see that has been incredible, you know, with the very few people that I've seen performing like this, or myself or him, where there's stuff coming out that just makes people not even ever be able to see that. And for me, at some point, it became less about me, and I realized that it was more about the art that I wanted to respect. And I was like, man, I wish people could see the innovative push and milestones that have been made here, because now, like, you have stuff like controllerism coming out, and when controllerism comes out, MPCism, or whatever you want to call it, just gets erased, you know, where there are different things to that. It's kind of based back to my fear of having a computer on stage with me at one point. It's like, man, I want people to understand, like, how much you can do with how very little you're given. You know what I mean? And I say that having a myriad of pieces of gear on stage now, but still, I didn't start that way, and it's like a creator's art. You know what I mean?
You don't want it to get swept up as just being products, because there is still thought in an artist's perspective.
Yeah, there's something that's afforded to people in this circle, which is a certain sense of mysticism, because there's like a whole lot of gap between understanding what's being done. Like, when I watch your stuff, I know what you're doing, and I love it. When I watch Exile, I see the tricks that he's doing. I'm like, no one knows what he's doing right now. And I wish people did, to a degree. But we kind of become like these electronic magicians instead of musicians, you know? And I feel like there's something that could be really learned from that, not only on the side of the fan or the aspiring musician, but also on the side of the people creating the technology, you know? And that's been like one of my behind the scenes battles with all these companies, is like, I want them to see what people can do with the stuff they're creating, because they don't even know.
Yeah.
You know? I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, but, you know.
I liked it.
Yeah, no, it was a good tangent.
I think that just to chip in a little bit, like, like, I don't necessarily feel like one style of this is going to push away one style of this. You know, I mean, I happen to think that 2014 and 2013 are like it's like the best music ever is coming out.
Yeah,
right now. It's so awesome, and there's so many different kinds of awesome music happening right now. If you just turn off the radio, obviously, but. What I was really going to say, though, is that, like, a big part of my role in this, and the reason why I even gotten the sponsorships that I have, is because I have this YouTube channel that's based completely on instructing on the 16 pads, right? It's not like a software thing. It's like, this is how you finger drum. This is how you can play drum parts and this kind of stuff like that. It's totally different than controllerism, which is like adding effects and tweaking.
Yeah.
Not, this is very erotic as well, but sorry. This is all, like, for me, here's the two jobs of the modern musician who wants to be, like, compete against us, right? And you should, you know, because we're going to keep on trying to get better and better and better, and we're going to push the art form, and you guys try to catch up with us as much as you can, obviously. So here's the two jobs. programming, learning the crap out of your software or your 2 softwares or your 2 drum machines. And then you have this other job. And that's nonstop. That's never, ever, ever gonna stop now, dude. Every like 9 months, a new machine software comes out and I spend like a month trying to figure it out again. It's every year now. I spend like half of my year relearning. A new Ableton comes out, new features, there I go, a couple more weeks on that, right? But then you have the musicianship side, where I believe that like you should be setting particular goals there and trying to achieve different things. Maybe you can only play beats with one hand, with 2 hands right now. Maybe take those 2 things and put them on 2 fingers instead and try it like that. That's a concrete goal, you know? Setting these, like in that video, I had a particular goal, like I just want to do like the most Hot for Teacher style guitar solo on Eddie Van Halen, Hot for Teacher. Like types of shit, you know what I mean? You never see anyone really do that. So I'm like, well, you never see anyone do that, much like the chin thing, I'll be the one to do it, sweet, you know? And then I get the infinite credit for it, and I got at least $1,500 to make that video, so that was cool.
That's awesome.
I paid my rent and a half.
I was going to say that that is something that's notable for you guys in being in this secret, like the secret circle sort of mysticism, that you guys both have definitely given back a lot, both with your videos. I know you've come back here even to Full Sail and talked to students and gave demonstrations, and you were here for Hall of Fame a few years ago.
A couple years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and his performance, if yours is going to be like that this year, it's sort of half of a performance, and then half of it is like, hey, here's what I'm doing. This is sort of like, let me walk you through the basic idea. You're not giving away all this.
A little bit less of that this time.
Yeah, a little bit less. Okay, but that's where does that sort of come from in terms of wanting to sort of spread that knowledge? And because I imagine you didn't really have a lot of that when you were coming up, when you were learning these things. Were there people who sort of guided you through, and the fact that maybe they weren't as present, is that part of what motivates you to teach others and sort of share the knowledge that you've done?
It's weird, man. In Detroit. Rewind, Detroit, 1996, like, this is, no, let's go like 98. I'm saying 98, 99, right? Laptop sets are just like popping up everywhere. And this is the reason, a lot of the reason why I do what I do. There's this thing called the Wilson set, right? Anyone remember the show Home Improvement from when you were kids, right? And there's that guy, neighbor Wilson, right? And so like, this is the Wilson laptop set, right?
Yeah.
You just see, like, you can't see him at all.
And
like,
cigarette smoke just coming up from behind it.
And you still see this a lot now. I mean, I think this is what we do is, like, for me personally, I was like, what I do is a 100% reaction to that. I'm doing this because I don't want to do that. So it's like, is it an opposite mentorship in a way? Like, I was anti-inspired, you know?
I had a very similar experience because there was around the time that IDM, which was called Intelligent Dance Music or something like that, came around. There was a night around here called Push, and I was invited to do my first solo set there, and I would always see these people just the same thing, the same Wilson set, and they'd just be like that would be the most that they moved, but most of them would just be like this.
They could be checking their email for all you know.
Yeah, it totally could be that. And I was like, like it made me like, I want to eat their face, you know? So, so when I did that set, I put my whole table on the floor, off the stage, and had everyone just like kind of stand around my table so they could see what was going on, and just took all that hungry face energy and hungry for face energy.
That's a new term that we just coined.
Yeah. Hungry for face. That's my next album. I took all that energy and just put it all into what I was doing. And that was, I said the night before, I was like, I want to show people, like, this is not what I do. That is not what I do. I feel what I do, you know? And that was like, I worked to become a musician. You know what I mean?
And a performer, bro. You kill it on just like performing, like the vibe.
Yeah, and I think that comes from the work. You know, you said it. People know me as a performer as well. There's a certain ferocity on stage when I play. Even when I talk about it, I get hungry. And
for face.
And that comes from really knowing what went into it. And a big part of what drives me is empathy, care. You know, what I came up with, being inspired by people, I thought these people, when I heard hip hop music and I would hear like this metal sound going on in the beat, I would be like, what are they doing? They probably like dragged a chain on the ground and sampled it and then reversed it and put it in there. So that's how I thought you made music like this. I thought you went out and like slapped a cow on the ass and sampled that, and that's the snare that we use, because that's what that sounds like.
Dilla's clap, that's the secret.
Yeah,
Dilla's
exactly.
clap.
That's Dilla. Like Dilla would go out to the bovine farm. Yeah, that's the one. Woo!
Wait, I'm just learning. This is not, people don't make music like that?
I found out they don't.
This is the Santa Claus moment.
So I came up, before I even had an MPC, I was just like, yeah. So I'm going to sample this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to, you know, set this up. I'm going to set up this Rube Goldberg invention and sample all of it and make a beat out of it. Boom. So I did that for years. And
your catalog must be some sick samples.
it was weird, though. I mean, it was sick.
A lot of animal abuse.
At the same time, yeah.
No,
but
I
I didn't have that
samples.
disclaimer, you know, on my thing that they have at the end of movies. There were animals harmed. But I would pour all that energy into it because, like, again, that's what inspired me. I wanted to be an inventor over everything, and I was like, yeah. I'm not really interested in this other music because I see what they're doing. I can't see what these people, all I hear it is my headphones. Later I found out that chain sound or whatever was just the rapper's necklace, you know what I mean, while he was rapping. And I was like, oh, well, I know how to sample a chain on the ground now, you know, so it didn't really disappoint me for too long. It was just like, oh, cool. My ignorance led me down a much more tedious and inventive path than I never, ever would have gone down before. And it was this type of caring, this type of process that inspired the hell out of me, that made me want to be like, I want other people to see the behind the scenes, because the behind the scenes is really cool. And I thought, man, if I could just, so when I perform, that type of, is all coming from all the care that has gone into every little piece of preparing for that moment, you know? And I'm not just talking about musically. You know, I've done a lot of work outside of the music to just become a better person, because that is the best thing that you can do as an aspiring musician, is get really great at being a great person, whatever that means to you. And that will make you be good at anything, you know? So all that just gets funneled into what I'm doing there, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we have a few minutes before we're going to open it up to questions. So I guess maybe one of the last things I'd like to ask you guys is, what are you working on now, and what's coming up musically?
Dude, it's really funny that I have actually like embarked on a project that sounds really similar to what you started off doing. Like half of the stuff I'm working on right now, and you'll hear some of it tomorrow, is I'm just sampling a bunch of shit in my garage. Like I kicked my garage door a bunch and like banged on every chunk of metal I could in there. Just really inspired to make like unique sounds, because you know you can buy a machine, you can buy MPC, trigger fingers, Ableton, all these things right now, they come with like 6 gigabytes of samples. Literally, what is it, 6,000 times more than I had when we started, right? It's insane. And they all sound amazing, ridiculous. A little kid buys it and he can make a track, the beat sounds like it could go on the radio right now with no mixing at all, right? So I'm like, well, anybody could do that. That's awesome. I still do that. That's really fun and really cool. That's a great advantage. But how can I make my own unique sounds, you know? How do I be more me and make something that no one has ever had, you know? So I have like, have entire like 16 banks that are like recycling bins. There's the whole recycling, there's a trash can set that I made that's wicked. It's like a drum and bass banger. Yeah, just really unique, trying to be as unique as possible, you know? And then what else on top of that? I'm just like, I'm a dad right now, dude. Yeah, I'm getting my dad on, bro.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You should make a baby sounds album.
Dude, I did. That's also really cute. You hear that a lot. Like, there's like
all my suggestions are cute.
That's a classic R&B. You put a little like baby cry in there, or like
the Timbaland Aaliyah. That was
you know
like one of the
Come on,
classics.
dude. I just got chills. I just got chills from that. Aaliyah's from Detroit. What's up?
There you go. And what about you, DiViNCi?
Man. Okay, so I'm still working with Miss Hill.
Crazy. Whoa,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
That's nuts.
She's awesome. She's the greatest.
I've heard she's just the most amazing creative person to be around as well.
She really is. One of the cool things right now that we're doing is, you know, you asked about the teaching thing. I kind of went off on another tangent, but I love teaching. You know what I mean? For that very reason, because I want people to see that there's even more magic behind the scenes than there is, you know, in the negative space of what you know or don't know. And Miss Hill is super, super creative, and the really cool thing is, like, she's always been very, very hands-on with everything that she's done, and she really wants to, like, master everything. So I've transitioned from being, like, part of the band into, like, teaching her how to use all the gear and stuff. So she's a beast, man. She's really killing it. That's one of the things we're working on, so she can just like spit her ideas out and go for it, you know. The other thing, like she already has Maschine down. She's learning push and all that. So that's really cool.
Wow.
She's an excellent warper. Like she kills it at warping in Ableton. Soliloquist of Sound, we just put out a double album that is the third and final part of a trilogy we've been putting out for a decade, and it even has like a little booklet that there's like all these little secrets that have been in it that have been hidden in the artwork of the prior albums and stuff like that. We just put that out, but we're working on another album. We also started a project called The Afterlife, where we're also creating an album every 4 months under that alias, and under ATDS, The Afterlife. And I have my first official solo album in the works. I say official because I've put stuff out before, but it's just been like, this hasn't been used, so here. But this is like my first one because I finally have gotten to a place creating music where it's the most free thing that I've, like the most free process I've ever had. And the album's called Electric Mother Effer. I don't know if we can say that here, but.
You just said it.
Yeah, I said enough of it, so you understand. I'm figuring out what I'm gonna do with that album, and yeah.
Awesome. So I'd love to open up the floor to any questions from you guys. I think they're going to be floating around with a microphone, so don't be shy.
How's it going?
What's up?
Okay. My name's Josh. I've been a big fan of yours, Jeremy, for a while, actually. And
Thanks, Josh.
I just kind of wonder, like, when did Maschine actually reach out to you saying, hey, you should use our stuff? Or did you kind of go to them saying, I really like what you're doing? And how much, like, of your touch did you put into, like, these newer designs, I guess you could say?
Okay, so this is an awesome story, dude. This is really cool. There's this DJ, Rich Medina, who saw me playing in Miami. Rich Medina is amazing.
Yeah.
And I was playing, it was a James Brown tribute party, so I played 20 minutes of James Brown tracks. Rich Medina was like hanging out like it was a Greek wedding, throwing dollar bills at me the whole time I'm playing. Like, right? So after the set, I'm just like, yeah, bro, come on, let's hang out. He's my homie from back in the day. He's like, no, you're kidding me. Just the whole time, no! he immediately walks me over to Dan Giove, who is the CEO of DubSpot. You guys have heard of DubSpot? And that was actually the next thing I'm doing. I just got a job at DubSpot LA, which is opening up in June. I'm going to be teaching there on Wednesdays, which is really good so I can travel on the weekends and whatnot. It's nice. It's good times for a dad. But so Dan Giove on the spot is like, dude, you need to get hooked up with Maschine. He calls Native Instruments. Native Instruments calls me like 3 days later, and I have a Maschine. It was crazy like that. And it was so freaking clunky. It was like impossible to use. So immediately the first thing I did with it was set it up in MIDI controller mode to run my Reason set, which I still do almost all the time live because Reason's latency rate, like I have like 75 drum machines open in Reason. It's incredible. I love it. But the new Maschine, so I will say that they did like 95% of what I wanted them to do. But still, the reason I love Maschine is it's like it sounds ridiculous. It has my favorite pads, and I like it, the colors light up. That's really pretty and stuff, so that's nice. Thanks for being a fan, Josh.
Got another one over here.
My name is Reese Tatum. I'm in the recording arts program, and I write a lot of electronic music. You know, in all of my free time, it fascinates me. But I realized both of you guys are both partial to Ableton as far as that software goes. I predominantly use like Pro Tools and Logic. What do you think like some of the benefits over that would be to a program like Ableton? And I'm not very familiar.
I write all my music, most of my music in Logic. I used to do everything in the MPC. At some point, I just got tired of programming sounds for 2 days straight before I even like made a beat. So I eventually moved to Logic, and I love it. I think there's benefits to every piece of software. I think the biggest benefit is what you're comfortable with. And for a very long time, since I grew up musically working in one box, I was always looking for a piece of gear that was all-inclusive, where I could do everything I needed to do in that one piece of gear or software. And while a lot of them have the capability to do that, there's little nuances to each piece of gear or software that allows you to do something more freely for your personal taste than another. And at some point I just accepted, you know, I'll work wherever. So for me, Ableton on stage, it's just a little bit more suited for live performance, for what I'm trying to do. But I guarantee there's somebody out there doing the same or more with a different type of program in a really creative way. So.
Yeah, I think that one of the major advantages of Ableton, like you said, I mean, there's just this one feature that I haven't experienced in any other thing, and that's like this master record button that you can do before your set, right? And like all of the freestyling you do, you're just creating clips, changing clips, changing knobs, and an hour later, it just recorded every single thing you did.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's
just,
a good one.
I don't mess with Logic. Does Logic have like this master, I just recorded everything you just did feature?
No, you know what they do have though that's really cool? Is they have a thing that you can hit. Like if you're noodling around, this is why I use it in the studio. If you're noodling around and you're playing around and you said, oh, that was great, I wish I was recording, you can hit a button and it will say, you weren't recording, but I will go back in time and now I will say that I did record that, and it'll just come up. And that's how I write all my stuff, is just like playing around and, oh, I just did something cool, and it recorded like the whole 12 minutes of me noodling around, and I can just choose the take that I wanted, and boom.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's weird.
Incredible.
But like I said, yeah, that's really cool. Logic's really cool. There's lots of cool stuff.
Hi, I'm Salvatore. I'm in recording arts. I have a couple of questions, actually. One is specifically for Jeremy. When I first heard of you, I saw the mostly robot thing, which I thought was awesome, one of the best things I ever saw. So I wanted to know what's up with that. Are you guys ever gonna do something together again? And the other question is for both of you. Could you give an estimate of nowadays how much hours, man, does it take you to prepare a piece to properly perform it live?
That's a good one.
Whoa. Okay, so I'll tackle the Mostly Robot thing first. If you guys aren't familiar with Mostly Robot, it was basically all the guys that do the demo videos for Native Instruments. So it was actually a lot of my heroes. It was crazy. Jamie Lydell is one of my favorite of all time. Sings like Otis Redding and his Max MSP overdubbing set from like, he's been doing it for a long, long time. It's incredible. And Tim Exile in particular, if you don't know Tim Exile, look that guy up. He's gonna blow your face off. You will be confounded and confused. It's literally like the most inspirational type. Any of his videos, they're just, every one of them is the most inspirational for me. But it was basically, it was a marketing deal, to be honest with you. Native Instruments spent like a ridiculous amount of money. Like it's hard to fly one artist out, you know, to play a festival. There's a plane ticket, there's a fee, you know, you can imagine, and people are let's do it all in. Will you take this much out of the flight so you get the hotel? I mean, this is what we're doing constantly. You know what I mean? So if you can imagine taking 5 people who like to have nice fees, and then all of them like to have nice hotel rooms, and then all of them are flying from different countries. So it was just like, it's crazy. It costs like $27,000 to do like one show. You know what I'm saying? It's where you could get Jeremy for under 10.
So the second
Prep time.
question, the prep time.
Prep time is very different nowadays than it used to be. When I just had the MPCs, it wasn't just about, okay, here's my set. It's how do I fit all of these samples in here? You have to get really creative. You'd have to speed a bunch of samples up, sample it, slow it down, turn it to mono, do all these things. That exhaustive process took, for some of my sets, I had ones that I'd be working on for a week and a half just to do a 20-minute show.
Just to optimize it.
Yeah, just to optimize,
to make it the right
just to fit it into this. So, and that was just for that set. So that stuff it took years to build up a catalog of things like that to do. Nowadays, if I need to rearrange a set, it's as simple as dragging something here and putting this there and things like that. So it's cut down like 80% of the prep time for me. But again, it's a lot of residual work that I've done over the years that have gotten there. If you're just talking about the static, quantifiable number of what did this routine take, some of them take 10 minutes. Some of them take 2 years. You know, it's all depending on what that particular routine calls for. But to be as specific to your question as possible, if I need to rearrange my set, I could do it backstage before the show, you know?
Yeah, I'm with that. Yeah, the last new set I put together, I added like 4 songs in like an hour.
Yeah.
And I'll be totally real with you. I like audio hijacked a bunch of shit off of YouTube, a bunch of El DeBarge breaks and some meters breaks, and I threw them into my set that night. Mm-hmm. So I cut them up into a system, the Rose system a lot. I'll just take like a measure of music, cut it up into smaller chunks, and play it like there, add a drum kit in the left hand, boom, I'm playing breaks. And then you find these sweet spots. You know, you don't play through the whole 16 chunks. I always talk about these sweet spots where you like find the 3 notes that like make a whole new sound out of it, you know? So that could be like 10 minutes, dude. You've had your hand up for a minute, Red Cap. Where's the mic? Oh, you got it? Okay, cool.
No, my question was, you guys went over, you know, how you got inspired to do the music that you do. My question is, how did you get into performing? Like, how did you guys approach, hey, I want to perform, you know, I want to show off what I can do? Like, did someone approach you like, hey, I like what you do? Or was it more or less you seeking out, hey, this is what I got, check it out? Like, how did you get in that stuff?
I sought it out. Yeah, I mean, everybody, DJs are just playing hour-long sets around me, and I'm like, well, I'm going to play my hour-long set too, you know? Like, my whole intention the whole time was to do it live. That was literally the intention.
Mine wasn't. Again, because, you know, when I was 14, I didn't see anything like this, especially growing up in a place called Wommelsdorf that is like this big.
What's it called again?
Wommelsdorf.
Nice.
I'm real cool.
Never heard of it.
And stuff. So mine came from, I was already performing in the studio, in my bedroom. You know, like when I would track out or sequence out a song, I would be doing it live with the vocalist or rapper, whoever I was with at the time, and we'd get into it. And when I hooked up with Swanberger from Soliloquist, and we would start to do shows, we would just say, you know, why don't, instead of, like, I don't even think I had a way to burn my stuff to a CD at the time. So I just was like, well, I guess I could bring this, and we'll do that. And we had an improv night where we just took what we would do in my room, where we would improvise, and took it to an improv night where for 6 hours I would just make beats on the spot, and he would rap, you know, like every week. And that's where I really cut my teeth with a lot of this stuff, and that's kind of how I started.
That's serious.
Yeah, it was fun. I start with a metronome and then just go. It got crazy. It was church for us. Like, we'd go through things where we'd be laughing our ass off or crying, and it was really cool.
All my first sets were all like, they weren't 6 hours, but they were hour-long overdub sets, and I freestyled the whole thing.
Nice.
So I had like 3 songs I knew I would sing on top of other
The
stuff.
time passes really quick when
It
you're
seriously
doing
does, yeah. I can't, if I had Ableton at that point, I can't even imagine. Jeez.
Yeah, I would have not developed a lot of the stuff that I did.
Wait, let me ask, did you just unplug at the end? Did you save any of those beats? Because I would just like,
Never.
as like a thing to the universe, I was like, be free, the beats I made tonight, you know?
No, I never captured any of it. It just would always unplug it.
So we lost like some of the greatest beats we ever did, probably.
Yeah, yep, it's cool.
Let's go.
We have one more. Hi, my name's Joseph from Recording Arts, and I have an interest in playing instruments as well. I've never really had the proficiency to play actual instruments. And my question to you guys specifically as far as performing is, how do you guys tackle the obstacle of memorizing the choreography for your fingers when you're triggering your samples across your multiple machines and devices?
Well, I'm of the same background. I really haven't had any musical training. I was self-taught. I didn't come from a family of musicians. My father's actually a really incredible martial artist, and I actually teach martial arts as well. And one of the things that I get from that the most is that it's like anything. It just takes repetition. I didn't really have any routines that I would do. I saw that you actually have some routines that you do. Like, I saw some of your tutorials and things like that. Like, I didn't have any practice routines. I just played enough that, oh, I know to get here, I got to do this. And I can't quite do that fast enough, so I don't do it, or I keep doing it until it just happens. You know, a lot of the time performing, like, since I was doing those 6-hour jam sessions, you know, that's when I got to do stuff where it didn't matter if I messed up, where I would just think, I wonder if I could do this, like play this and then go all the way over and play this like really quick, and it's and that's how I like would start to use my elbow, or I play with my feet sometimes. Just, it was out of necessity because I just had an idea, and there's something special about the adrenaline and the energy on stage that pushes you to do superhuman things, the things that you can't do just chilling out in your room playing. And it was playing in that type of energetical space that showed me, oh, in a bind, you could really go, you know, and that type of stuff, like, I got inspired by stumbling on things, you know, so I just kept on doing them. So it's just, whatever you want to do, just do it millions of times, and then you can do it. You know, everything, or thousands of times. Everything that I teach in martial arts is, there's all these flow drills, and there's like 3 movements to the drill. 1, 2, 3. And people, they go like this. They go, and they're literally looking in their head for the answer. But they already know 1, 2, 3. That's it. What else? That's not hard to understand. But your body has to learn it. And you can't look in your head for what your body has to know. And I think that's a good metaphor for everybody that's looking to get better at anything, but particularly music, is, you know, we could share our processes of how we do stuff all day, yet until you actually do it and react to the reality of the situation, what it feels like to do it, or maybe for you, you have a special talent where your finger bends this way or whatever, like it's not gonna relate to my process, and you gotta kind of adapt to your own. And you only find out by doing that, by blindly just taking your passion and running with it. You know?
Yeah, man.